Good morning, everybody. Glad to have you here this Friday before Christmas, and I appreciate you joining me again. Like, share, comment, if you will, subscribe, follow, depending on what form of social media you're following along with, and then join me in Acts chapter 17 and verse 23, as Paul speaks to the philosophers gathered at Mars Hill. He says to them, For as I passed along and observed the objects of your worship, I found also an altar with this inscription, To the unknown God. What therefore you worship as unknown, this I proclaim to you. The philosophers had erected a number of things, of items of worship to various gods. And then they had another one that Paul points out, an altar to the unknown God. And what that means is that these people, in their desire, again, and give them credit for their search. Just in case they had missed one, they had all these other idols, but just in case they missed one, they had built an altar to the unknown God. This is just, if there's a God out there we don't know about, we want to worship it too. And so Paul mentions that in this verse that he brings up this fact. And because of that, we saw in the previous verse that the men they were looking for God. They were trying to find God, again, even to this point where they would build an altar to an unknown God. And again, it says there that they have these objects of worship, which again would have been idols, altars, and they also acknowledge that there is an unknown God. There's one we haven't found yet. We don't know who He is, and so none of the things they were worshiping, none of the idols they had, satisfied them. They knew something was missing. There was still a hunger in their heart. There was still they just knew that there was something missing. And all these religions that were man-made, all these things that they had created, none of them fit the bill. None of them, they were continuing debate. And I don't know this, but I would suggest that ever so often another idol popped up, that they would build another one, thinking that maybe this one will satisfy. Maybe this one will meet the needs that we feel. And so Paul says, but I'm going to proclaim to you who this God is that you're looking for, who this God is that you don't even know. And I want to give you this thought for today. Sometimes we, and me, I include myself in that sometimes we can be a little critical towards the world we live in because they're not following the God that we worship. But I'm afraid that many of them, much like these philosophers on Mars Hill, are just waiting for somebody like Paul to come along and proclaim to them who God is. There's a restlessness in their heart. There's a hunger. There's a longing in their heart. And many of them are finding that solution, finding or looking for it in drugs and alcohol and sex and fame and fortune and all those kinds of things. And the truth is, the problem is they've just never really had the gospel proclaimed to them. They don't know who Jesus Christ is. And we have to take responsibility for that problem. Maybe more people would be following Jesus if we would be better at telling them about Jesus, other than just here at the Christmas season. And I hope you'll think about that today, that the people you work with, your family, your friends, we live in what is known as a post-Christian age. Many of you are old enough, you grew up in a Christian age when even those who didn't go to church lived by Christian principles. We're not there anymore. We're a mission field in the United States. We're like a lot of the foreign countries where we've sent missionaries with what goes on in our nation. And it falls on us to be like Paul and proclaim to them who this unknown God is, what the only answer for that hunger that they have. And I would suggest to you that this weekend, this Christmas weekend, is a great time to do that when the thought of Christ and his birth is already on their minds, to take advantage of this opportunity, maybe when your family's gathered, to take just a moment from the food and the gifts and everything else and tell them as they're gathered about Christ, to use this weekend, use this holiday as an opportunity to proclaim to them who this unknown God is. You have a good day, and we'll see you here tomorrow morning.